Okay, there we go again. This time we're going to be specifically focusing in on formulas, but we're still doing rational equations. So what's a rational formula going to look like? Well, it's going to have something over something, isn't it? How to do these in an easier way. We'll start with a review of what we were just doing in the previous section. Here we have John, who can go from A to B in 5 hours. Jacqueline can walk the same distance in 4, so they've got different rates. If they start at the same time at opposite towns, how long will it take them to meet? So together, what will their rate be to cover this distance? We know that John is going to be able to do it in 5 hours. And Jacqueline, obviously a little bit speedier, she can do it in 4. So if I multiply this whole thing through, clear the fractions by multiplying by 20x, I will end up with, let's see, 4x here and 5x here, and that'll all be equal to 20. So I'll have 9x equals 20. X equals 20 over 9. Well, I just get rid of that. Okay, so there's my answer, and I might prefer to write this in minutes rather than 2 2/9 hours. Makes more sense to people if we say it's 2 hours and 13 minutes, and we know how to convert from hours to minutes. We put what we're going from, 1 hour, we put that in the denominator of our conversion factor. What we're going to, the equivalent of 1 hour, 60 minutes, in the numerator, multiply it, and voila, we have gone from hours to minutes. Of course, we just did the fractional piece. We want to leave the integer 2 alone. Okay, we're not going to be solving for the numeric value. Here we're going to be finding an equivalent equation. Solve an equation for one variable in terms of the others. Later on, we can find the numeric solutions, so we will look for numeric values later. This is particularly helpful if you have several different numeric solutions that you have to do. It's easier if you've already solved for the variable that you're interested in. We know this from geometry. The volume of a pyramid that has a square base with the length of each side being L and an altitude, remember that was at right angles to the base, of h, we can say this is how you figure out what the volume is. But suppose we know what the volume is, and we know what the length of the side is, and we're only interested in finding out what the height of the pyramid needs to be. Then it would be useful to us to solve this whole thing for h. Well, I think the first thing I would do, I'd multiply both sides by 3. That would get rid of that ugly looking 1/3. Then, remember, I'm trying to get h all by itself. I better divide by... Oh, you caught me already, didn't you? This is L squared. So I'm going to divide everything through by L squared. And I have the height of my pyramid in terms of the volume and the length of the sides of the base. Okay, so here is the formula. Is it the same? 3v divided by L squared? Oh yes, good. So I figured that out before I go to plug in any values of the side length or the volume. What is the altitude of a 2 foot by 2 foot square base pyramid that has a volume of 4 cubic feet? We could figure this. See, there are two ways of doing it. One would be to use this equation. We plug in the 4, we plug in the 2, and we figure out it's 3 feet. Or, suppose we hadn't converted, and we've used the original equation. You can see it takes us more time. Now, we had already invested the time in determining this one. And you might say, well, it's kind of a wash then, isn't it? I agree. The time when this really is going to help you is if you had still another one of these that you needed to do. All right, here's a question related to investments. If I have an initial amount, P for principal, I invest it at an annual interest rate of R, notice annual, and then the amount F after 1 year. Okay, and I don't even know what that stands for. Final, maybe. Final amount after a year. Well, that's going to be my principal plus my interest. And my principal plus my interest is the same as saying, how do we figure my interest? Figure my interest with interest rate. Oh, sorry. Interest rate times the time, and times the, which is only 1 year, right? Times the principal. So this formula here, the final amount, has factored out the P, leaving us with P times 1 plus the rate. If an amount of $120, that's my principal, is invested, and I end up with 138 after 1 year, what is the interest rate? First, find the equivalent equation for R. Okay, I'm going to use this. So my final amount, I think I better divide everything through by P, right? Then will equal 1 plus R. R is the thing I'm trying to solve for. R is equal to F divided by P minus 1. My known amounts, my final value was 138. My principal was 120. And then I'm going to subtract 1. And I'm going to write it as 120 over 120. Why? Because I need to have a common denominator. So my rate is equal to, let's see, 138 minus 120. 18 over 120. Can I simplify that a little bit? Well, yes, because won't 6 go into these evenly? The 6 will go into that 3 times, and 6 will go into this 20 times. So what's my rate? Well, usually we express it as a percentage, don't we? 3 of 20 is the same as, how much of 100? That would give us the percentage, wouldn't it? Okay, 15%. Wow, wouldn't it be great to find something that would pay 15%? Well, that was a quick one.